G'day. I'm very tired right now. My ears are ringing. I went to do dinner tonight and I couldn't eat even half of it. And it wasn't very much. Barely enough to feed a mouse. My stomach's sort of doing wonderful twirlies, and yeah, I just feel wasted for some reason. Like just no energy, incredibly tired, even though I slept really well last night, although I did wake up at about 6 o'clock this morning, and yeah, basically left camp at probably around about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I've been home ever since. It was very cloudy this morning. We have had rain here today, but this afternoon, by about 12 o'clock, I was ready for bed. So that's what I did. I got into bed, and woke up 3 hours later, still lying in the same position. I don't remember falling asleep, and I don't remember rolling over, and yeah, I just zonked. And to be honest with you, I'm probably ready to go to bed again. I'm just tired. Yeah, I don't know. Something's weird been playing today. I know there was a G1 solar storm, which probably hasn't helped. And I just looked at the Schumann resonance, and there's an awful lot of energy coming through. In fact, it was huge amounts of energy sort of earlier this morning, and then it went into blackout, and it's only really just started sort of coming through again, as in white energy, very thick white energy, which doesn't really help. I watched a favourite YouTuber of mine and another one of my subscribers, Robin, and from Erin, and yeah, she sort of recorded this horizontal line, and you can actually see it on all the graphs on the Schumann resonance. I'm not sure what happened. Her video was from probably about 22 hours ago now, and that white line disappears straight into all this massive energy coming through, and because it then blacked out, and then because there was a huge amount of white energy, you can't see the line, but when you actually go into the graphs, it's still there. So I'm not really sure what that is, but yeah, I'll have a look at her video tomorrow, and I'm sure she'll explain it. Yeah, I mean, the weekend was good. Had two absolutely to die for nights. I didn't have a fire the first night, and I don't really know why, but I didn't need it. I was plenty warm enough. It got down to probably around about 8 or 9 degrees overnight, which isn't exactly warm. But then again, I'm fully set up for the weather out there. You know, I mean, it's just layering of clothing really, and then I wear a balaclava, and then I've got my beanie, and that gets tucked right down into inside my clothing. So I was warm as toast. Yeah, so I was fine. The second night, I thought I had a bit of rubbish, so I thought, you know what, I'll just do a fire in my little stove, and yeah, that was really good. I mean, that stove just works so well. I've actually got two 12-volt fans set up, or two USB fans set up in the camp, because of course, because of the rain, the leaf litter and sticks and stumps have all got a bit of moisture in it. So when you first sort of get it going, she's a bit smoky, and I have to turn the fans on to get rid of all the smoke from within my actual little campsite. So, and then once it gets going, it's fine for the rest of the night. And the mallee stumps, you know, they weren't really around this morning. There were still certainly coals, and had I wanted to start it again, I wouldn't have needed firelighters. There was still more than enough warmth in there. But I don't like leaving camp with, I mean, even though it's in an enclosed box, I will still, once I finish the dishes, I just threw the dishwater into the little stove, and that put 90% of it out, and that's fine. It's in a box, in a steel box, 4 legs. The thing ain't moving, and the wind can't get in there and stir it up. So it is more than fine. I'm more than happy with that. The box was cold to the touch afterwards, so that was good. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was funny actually, because I stood out by the car, as I do most nights that I'm out there. I play my music through my phone to a little Bluetooth speaker that I've got set up inside the trailer. The speaker's only little, but it's I bought it because I can actually charge it by USB. I didn't want something that I needed 240-volt power to charge something from, and that's the way I've looked at most of the gear that I've got out there. It either has to be 12-volt, like a cigarette lighter, or it has to be USB, one of the two, because I've got about 4 power points for 12-volt, and I've got probably around about 4 USBs out there, so I can charge my phone, I can run the Bluetooth speaker, I can run my camp lights, I can recharge the torches while I'm out there, which I've talked about before, and I can also run fridges, freezers, etc., all on 12-volt through the 2 batteries. So the trailer's got 2 120 amp deep cell batteries that are basically joined together, and they run up to 2 120 watt solar panels on the roof of the trailer, which are combined. So the panels recharge the batteries, I use the power, etc. And the battery charge from the combined was sitting at about 13.4 volts when I left. So they're both fully charged, and that setup's been in the trailer for around about, I want to say, 3 years. And I haven't done anything to it. I've got spare batteries just in case one decides it doesn't want to work anymore. And I've got spare solar panels. So if something happens, I'm good. And I don't really use the fridge freezer in the trailer. I've got an 80-litre King's fridge freezer, so it's got a separate fridge, separate freezer. The fridge at the moment is filled with cans of drink, but they're not refrigerated. I don't actually turn the fridge on if I'm only going to be out there for a weekend, because it'll take nearly a day and a half to actually get the fridge up to temperature and get the things inside down to temperature, if that makes sense. So I don't actually use it. It's just purely storage at the moment. In the back of the car, however, I've got a Engel 60-litre fridge freezer. Same setup. So fridge on one side, freezer on the other. And that's hooked up to, again, a 120 amp deep cell battery in a battery box in the back of the car. And that connects to one 120 amp solar panel, which is permanently fixed to the top of the car. So the car's got bars that run across the top, ski bars, I suppose you call them. So the solar panel is permanently fixed to that. And that fridge has been running pretty much, I haven't turned it off for probably around about, again, 2 to 3 years. The battery system and the solar system is not connected to the car at all. So the car, I could take the entire setup that powers the fridge off and the car wouldn't be affected. So the reason I did it that way is because when I originally had it set up, it was connected to the car battery. So if the battery in the back of the car went sort of lost power, then basically it would switch over to the car battery. And I didn't want that to happen while I was out bush, because that would just flatten both batteries. And I don't want that. I want the car separate to the actual fridge itself. I mean, not that the fridge takes a lot of power. The Engels run pretty well. And to be honest with you, I've only really generally got it on around about 0 degrees. And that's good enough for the drinks that are in there permanently. I don't keep food in there permanently. I only stock up on a Friday night when I'm going to go out. And then as soon as I get home, all the food in the fridge comes from the car and comes into the house fridge. So there's no food in there permanently. So there's no need for the fridge or freezer to be any lower than 0 degrees. I could probably turn it up to 1 or 2, and that would keep the cans more than cold. But I do like it to be reasonably cold, just in case I need to go. And those that know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's just the way I set it up. So everything I use while I'm out there for a weekend mainly comes from the car. I don't really, I've got coffee and, I can make a hot chocolate if I want to while I'm out there. All of that stuff is out there. All my spirits are out there. So I don't need to bother packing any of that. All my cutlery and everything else is in the trailer. So my tea towels, dishwashing liquids, everything that I don't need in the house, because I've got all that stuff in the house as well. So toilet paper's out there, just the usual stuff. And I don't worry about, little critters getting into the stuff, because there's nothing out there that realistically they're going to be interested in anyway. And everything that is out there, they can't get into. So I'm more than comfortable with the way things are out there. But yeah, it was interesting because going back, I was leaning up against the car, counting satellites and meteors and God knows what else flies through the night sky. And I'd been leaning up against the car for about 3 hours, I guess, just going back to camp, making sure the fire was good, etc., but otherwise standing up the whole time. And it's not hard to do. You lose track of time so easily out there. It's frightening sometimes. You look at the phone and it'll be 6:30, and then you look at it again and it's like 9:30. It's just crazy, really. There was plenty going on last night. I think I topped 70 odd satellites. There was, I didn't quite get to double figures on the meteors. I only got to 9. It was funny, the first night I was out there, I think I was at 8 satellites, 8 aircraft. I mean, the sky was buzzing with planes. It was just crazy. And most of them were leaving Adelaide and going to Melbourne. So, yeah, it was 8-8 at one stage. But last night, totally different story. Got to around about 24 satellites before I finally clicked over to 8 aircraft. The aircraft tally at the end of the night was probably around about 20. Most of them fly at around about 28,000, 30,000 feet and above. They're very visible at night. The navigation lights just, it's incredibly easy to spot a plane. It was interesting actually because one of the satellites was actually space junk, and the reason I knew that was because it was actually tumbling through the sky. It wasn't, and you could actually see it sort of rolling to a certain extent. And I know the thing's nearly 400 kilometers away, but you can actually see it. When the sky is just as dark as it was last night, except for the starlight, you can actually see the reflection as it's rolling over. So that was interesting. But yeah, I finally decided, nah, I've had enough of this crap. I need to sit down. So I went across to camp and I turned the camp lights on because I carried everything that I had sitting on the bonnet of the car, as you do. Back across, made sure the fire was good. Probably threw a couple of stumps on it just to make sure, and positioned my chair, and then turned the lights off, and then went to sit down. It was just mind blowing. There's moments out there where you honestly just have to ask whether it's real or not. It just is astonishingly gorgeous. Like, just you just realise that you just can't be the only one looking at this. It's incredibly hard to describe. But you sit down and you've got the landscape sort of coming through at about that level with your eyesight, and you can see the trees on the top of the sand hills standing up. And this is at like 9:30 at night. And then you've just got the band of the Milky Way that just glows, like you can see the colours in it. The photos are amazing, but they don't even come close to what you're looking at. I mean, seriously. The band of the Milky Way is just bursting with light. You're looking at Scorpio rising across above the horizon, and Antares, which is a red giant, which is the eye of Scorpio. The Southern Cross, which is just so bright out there. And there's a lot of crosses in the sky. But the Southern Cross is just so bright. And then you look across to the right and there's the large Magellanic Galaxy, the small Magellanic Galaxy. And you can see all of this with your naked eye. I mean, those two galaxies are just so bright. And they look, for all intents and purposes from a city, just like clouds. But out there, you can actually see the physical shape of them. And it's just, there's been so many times where I'd wished I was a poet, because you just can't describe it properly. But, for the amount of times I've seen it, it is just, every now and again, you sit down and you just made so aware that this actually exists. And so few of us ever get the chance to see it like that. Most people live in a city. They barely see much at all. And you might be lucky if you live in a small town to go out in the backyard, but you've still got artificial light that sort of deadens it. And I've been out a couple of times tonight, now that I'm back home, and I don't live in a very big town, but the sky is different. I mean, it just is. Out there though, it's almost unfair I do this on my own. It really is. I mean, it's astonishingly beautiful. You realise how damn small you are. Like, honestly, you're just nothing. Like, absolutely nothing compared to it. And I know there's people out there who don't believe it and blah, 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 and that's fine. But I don't think they've ever seen it like that. You don't know where to look. That's the problem. Because there's so much going on. There's flashes of light. There's things that move. There's things that flash. There's things that streak, and some of the meteors is just so small. They're just gone in like 2/100ths of a second. And if you're not looking in the right spot, you won't see them. But I mean, most humans' eyes are quite good. Like, I mean, I can see out quite wide. My peripheral vision's pretty good, but I'm only seeing a quarter of the sky out there. I mean, it's not even close to a full sky. And even when you lay down on the grass and dirt, you still don't see everything because the sky is that big out there, and especially at night, it is just something else. I mean, if you ever get the opportunity to get the chance to go out there on a night where there's no moon, it's gonna blow your mind. I mean, you're seriously going to be mind blown. It is just incredible. And I mean, I live in the Southern Hemisphere, so I don't know what it's like in the Northern Hemisphere, but we've got it really lucky. Orion's belt is still up. Jupiter is still up. Although, given another couple of months, and Orion's belt will be below the horizon, and Scorpio will be much higher in the sky earlier in the night. I call Scorpio the winter constellation. It is one of the biggest constellations out there. It is bigger than the Southern Cross. Just the distance that it spans from one end to the other. And for those wanting to know what Scorpio is, it's basically a constellation. So you've heard of all your star signs, so Libra, Aquarius, Aries, Leo, Taurus, Gemini, etc., etc. All of those are in the night sky, and all of them are basically star constellations. So Scorpio, if you think of a scorpion, basically the claws out the front, the curled tail, that's exactly what Scorpio looks like. And Antares, which is a red giant, so if you put our sun in the center of, or put Antares in the center of our sun, we'd be inside the sun. That's how big it is. It is bloody huge. And there's a few red giants out there at the moment. There's Betelgeuse. Obviously, most of us have heard of that in the Orion constellation. There's Arcturus, which is rising at about the same time as Scorpio, and on about the same line as well. So if you think Scorpio is sort of in the southeast, Arcturus is virtually in the northeast, and they're basically at about the same level. So that's another red giant, and they do glow quite red. Out bush, they're very red. I'd imagine people would mistake it for Mars or something else. So yeah, there's certainly a lot in the night sky to look forward to. I love it. I absolutely adore it. I've normally got my music playing, and yeah, it's a billion times better than watching television. I can tell you that right now. You find a dark spot, you will lose track of time. Providing you're warm enough, providing you've got something to drink, you're comfortable, you just the problem I get is my neck just gets sore because you're looking up all the time and trying to take it all in, which you never will. Not a hope. So I set up my GoPro to do the Star Trails thing, and I'll download that tomorrow and upload it onto my community notes probably tomorrow, so you can have a look at that and see what I've actually caught. I love those things. I reckon it's so cool, especially if a satellite or something like that flies through, or a plane, or you can generally see all the stars which are sort of going around in a circle, and then you'll get this line, this little line that'll sort of come across, and that's either a plane, which if it's down low then it'll be a plane, if it's up high it'll be a satellite. But I'll have a look first when I download it, and it's best to actually look at those on a PC, something with a decent sized screen, because the detail is just amazing. So yeah, so that'll happen tomorrow. Otherwise, it is Sunday night here. I've got a few things to tidy up, and then I'll hit the sack, and tomorrow will be the start of my work week, I guess. So yeah, hopefully I'll catch you guys at some point this week. Otherwise, have a great night / day / whatever you're about to walk into around this little globe of ours. And yeah, be safe, and I'll catch you later. See you guys.